Chapter 12 Dreams and Aches. It was a dream come true. Shellington sat on the rocks, the wet sand clinging to his lower paws after walking through the beach. The humid, Floridan air made everything sticky, but by now, Shellington was getting used to it. It had taken them a long time to find some tide pools. Florida could become quite a tourist site after all, so it was fairly crowded as he and the professor had gone through the beaches, looking for scientific discovery. But finally, they found one, and he and Inkling sat on the rocks, which were covered with a bit of sand. Shellington was drawing the creatures that he saw in a notebook, while the professor took everything in, breathing in the salt air. They had been talking for the past hour, delving into all sorts of marine topics, from the life cycles of plankton to the ecosystem of underwater volcanoes. It was so technical, so nerdy, as his classmates in grade school used to say, but he loved every second of it. The professor was even more wise and engaging than he thought he would be. Now the conversation lulled slightly, and they took a moment to breathe. Drawing creatures always soothed Shellington. It was something for his paws to do, letting his mind wander. And his mind wandered to the other creatures he wanted to see. "I can't wait to spend time with them," Shellington exclaimed. The professor lazily opened an eye. "Who?" "Oh, yes." He kept forgetting that others couldn't read his mind. "The Vegemals. They seem so fascinating." Inkling explained, "Tweak is training them for the time being, but once their lessons start to lessen—" Shellington mentally snorted at the wording. "Then I'm sure they'll be happy to see you." Shellington's lips quirked. "I'm jealous, you know, that you were the first to discover their island." Inkling chuckled. "Just you wait. I'd wager that you'll find plenty of creatures no one has ever seen before." Shellington stilled, and the professor caught the shift in tone. "That means a lot to me," Shellington eventually expressed. Inkling still looked at him, not entirely comprehending. Shellington leaned back slightly onto his paws, his pencil still in his grip. He gazed at the water, that glorious blue with its soothing waves. Oh, how he missed it. "This was something I wanted my whole life. It's important for me to get back into the sea, to figure out everything in it. I feel like I need to." He hoped he was making sense. He was told enough times that he didn't. "It's fate." Now it was the sea otter's turn to quizzically look at his companion. Inkling was staring out into the ocean as well, as still and serene as a statue, as if he hadn't spoken at all. "Fate? It is something the sea folk on my mound say. If you were born a creature of the sea, you are meant to be part of it. If you leave, you always come back." Inkling breathed out and half smiled. "I've come to believe it. Even when I had taken a career on land, I was always still drawn to the ocean. It's within my very blood. And especially with your situation, I don't doubt you feel that more intensely than I ever have." Shellington's eyes widened at the statement, but then settled. Given the species he was, of course Inkling would have known all the implications. Anyone would, really. Shellington gulped uncomfortably at that, but he pushed those emotions away and nodded. "Then it's only natural. You belong there." Shellington stayed quiet. Inkling stretched a couple of his arms and stood up. "I best be going back," he said. "I have to speak with the medic about something. Please don't stay out here too late." Shellington nodded again, and with a wave goodbye, Inkling went on his way. Shellington would never explain to Inkling, nor to anyone else, but the professor's words warmed him and encouraged him like nothing else, putting his doubts and demons to rest. Shellington knew the peace was only temporary, but he took all that he could get. Line break. His fingers were covered in paint, drips of color colliding with his orange fur. Not that he cared. The second he saw the guppy, with its new shiny metal exterior and slim fast features, Quasi knew immediately that it was the gup for him. After getting the okay from the mechanic, Quasi did not waste any time with getting the materials. Surprisingly, Tweak seemed relieved that he had offered to paint the mini-submarine. He didn't look that much into it, but with all the engineers running around and working frantically, he could probably see why. The teeth on the guppy were getting along nicely. He had wanted them to look completely jagged, like the way sharks really are, but the captain had gently warned him not to do so. It could scare away fish. Quasi didn't think any fish would mistake this huge pile of metal for an actual shark, but he begrudgingly complied anyway. He made the tips of the teeth rounded, but just a little. It still needed to look cool. The launch bay was quiet. Tweak was who knows where, and the vegetables were at the garden pod, preparing the soil in the garden. He knew that because he was there earlier this morning, swinging on vines, which were, surprisingly, the first plants that were set up. He always got a kick out of it, but now it was losing its charm. The first time he had done the activity, the vegetables peered at him curiously, and laughed and clapped at the flips he did. They even joined him sometimes. But then, after a while, they stopped looking. becoming too busy with their growing task list. The novelty wore off. He was put on the wayside. He did not know why, but Quasi felt a disconnect with everyone. The captain would say a few friendly words, but then he would go on with his duties. The others would do small talk with him, but it never meant much. But he just met them. How was he supposed to expect them to become so close in only a short time? But no, that's not exactly what was bothering him. He gripped the paintbrush. He had been alone for as long as he could remember. Ever since Calico Jack had sailed away for the last time, he believed, truly believed, that once he got on the sea himself, things would be different. But no matter how much he tried, he still ached. It's not going to change, is it? Quasi laughed, trying to ignore how uncomfortable that sounded. Cheer up, chum, Quasi thought. Even if it's not exactly how you thought it would be, at least you're a pirate, and an honest one, too, going on adventures. Calico would be proud of you. Quasi forced a smirk and continued painting, ignoring the small voice in the back of his head. Would he be proud of me?